In this lesson, we're going to be reviewing how to multiply using exponents. And so our quick reminder here, we're going to do a rule reminder from when you were doing this in maybe middle school or Algebra 1. When you have two x's, you add the exponents, meaning if I was to have x cubed times x to the fourth, here I have two x's, so my answer is adding those exponents, which makes this x to the seventh. So there's a little rule reminder for us. So in number 1, when we look at this problem, we treat the numbers the same still. So when I'm multiplying 3 times negative 4, that's still negative 12. And then I have x cubed times x squared. Notice I'm saying x both times, x times x. So that tells me I add those exponents, which would be x to the fifth. And then my y's, I have y squared times y to the fourth, which is y to the sixth. Number 2 then is a different rule reminder. Here I have what's called a power of a power. I don't have two p's or two s's, so my rule here is that when I have one x, in this case we have a p and an s, you multiply the exponents. For example, we would have had something like this in Algebra 1. X squared raised to the fifth power. Notice I'm not saying x twice, it's x squared to the fifth. I multiply those exponents and get x to the 10th. So over here in my problem, I have negative 2 to the fifth power. I have the same rules for numbers I've always had. So negative 2 to the fifth power is negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, which gives me negative 32. If you're not sure how to punch that in your calculator, you also, for exponents, you can go negative 2 and make sure you put that in parentheses, and then you use that caret button. It's right above your division symbol, I think. I don't have a calculator in front of me. Let me just check quick. Make sure I'm telling you the right spot where it is. Yep, right above your division symbol in your calculator. So you can push that and then to the fifth, and it'll also give you that answer. You can use that for bigger ones so you don't have to actually multiply them all out. And then I have p cubed raised to the fifth. So you see how I only have one p? That tells me that I multiply those exponents. And then s squared raised to the fifth is s to the 10th. Hopefully you remember, when you learned this in Algebra 1, your teacher probably proved this to you and why these rules work. So if you want to see that, I'm not going to do that in the video lesson because I'm assuming most of you have seen that and understand the rules, but I would love to show that to you if you want to do that in class. So if you want me to show you why these rules are the way they are, that's something I can do in class for you too. So there's our second one, number 2. Our third one then is our first one with a negative exponent. And one of the things about negative exponents that we might not remember is, I'll do a little rule reminder over here. If I have x to the negative second, we move that to the denominator to make it positive. So to change a negative exponent to a positive, let's say we had 1 over x to the negative third. To make that positive, I move it to the numerator. So you always, to change the negative to positive, move it to where it's not. And again, that's a proof I can show you if you want to do that in class on why that is. But that's how we move our negative exponents. So for number 3 here, you'll see that we have the quantity 3x to the negative third squared. So I'm going to go ahead and square my 3 and get 9, and then I use my multiplying rule here, because x to the negative third squared would be x to the negative 6. Now my exponent that needs to move, this 9 has an exponent of 1, so it doesn't have a negative exponent. So the only one that has to be changed is this negative 6. And I'm saying that because we're not going to leave any answers with negative exponents. I should have mentioned that earlier, sorry. So any of our answers that have a negative exponent, we need to leave them with a positive. That's how we simplify them, and that's called lowest terms. And so to make that be positive, right now this whole fraction's over 1. So the 9 is good to go. I'm going to leave it where it is because it's not breaking any rules. But I need to move this negative exponent to the bottom, and that makes it positive. So it's 9 over x to the 6th. If that doesn't come back to you right away from doing that in Algebra 1, let me know and I can give you a couple problems we'll work on tomorrow too. Hopefully that's one you can remember. So number 4, I have x to the negative third times x to the negative fourth. Again, notice how I said x twice. There's two x's there. So that tells me I add those exponents. So I'd get x to the negative 7th. And then I'm going to move that to the denominator. So I would have 1 over x to the 7th. Number 5, I'm going to go ahead and multiply my numbers. So I have 5 times negative 2. So 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. and then I add my exponents. X to the negative second times x to the negative fourth would be x to the negative sixth. Now, some people, I purposely give you one that's negative because sometimes students will see this negative here and think that that means that needs to move. Remember, it's only negative exponents that we need to change. So this 10 still has an exponent of a 1. So you do not have to do anything special with that negative 10. It's going to stay in my numerator. It's my x to the sixth that I need to move to the denominator. There you go. There's a quick reminder on how to multiply using exponents.